Remember when we played other games? Hey, welcome to Console Choice, it's Mark, and we are talking about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This has been out for just over 2 weeks now. Like a lot of people, I've had it since basically day one, and I want to run through how far I've got, the stages I'm at, things I've found, cool stuff I've seen, my general thoughts on the game itself, particularly in comparison to, obviously, its predecessor. And then I want to round out a little bit with what I'm hoping the game is going to do in the latter half. I say half, I don't actually think I'm halfway through the game at all. There we can see how many shrines and Korok seeds I've done. So here we are at Hateno Village. A nice place to start with. It's had a good few changes. I really like that they've kind of expanded and altered the existing locations. We're going to start off first of all with talking about the map. I have now unlocked all of the map. I've hit the towers. The towers in this compared to Breath of the Wild, I found far less irritating. Obviously, there's just as many of them, if not a couple more. But they were just a bit more interesting. In Breath of the Wild, they were all just climbing challenges. You get there, you get to the top of the tower somehow, and off you go, and it all was just climbing challenges. Obviously, Breath of the Wild focused very heavily on climbing. The emphasis here is much less on climbing, and the towers actually really reflect that quite well. They tend to use the new abilities for the game in order for you to be able to unlock them. There's no real climbing involved at all. You don't have to get to the top of the tower, particularly, but a lot of them require you to move things or come up from underground using the Ascension ability. Those kind of things. It just made them that little bit more interesting. This is, of course, the ground level map, the base map that we saw in Breath of the Wild. This has had a number of changes done to it to refresh it, and it really does make it feel like a brand new map to explore. I've spent most of my time on the ground level map, running around places that I became familiar with in Breath of the Wild to find out how they've been changed now. Specifically, we are my friends. There's my profile. Here we are. I am 80 hours into the game. Really good solid chunk. Most games, of course, by now are finished and you're just doing the mop up. I am doing no such thing. I've still got 2 of the sort of main 4 events it gives you in the first place. I've done a number of Koroks, obviously a good amount of exploration. You can see the number of shrines I've done. Plenty of areas where I clearly haven't touched at all. So we begin with the base map, which has had a number of changes to it. Certain things have moved, like fairies, the horse gods, the stuff you expect to find in certain places has been moved. This makes it, this has made it really interesting to try and find those places. As far as the Great Fairies are concerned, those were a lot more fun to unlock as well. It's not just rock up with a big sack of rupees. There was actually some quest work and some legwork to do. It was a lot of fun, and in more than one instance, really quite moving. But then we don't just have the ground level map. Obviously, the trailers focused very heavily on pointing out that there were going to be sky islands. And here we are, here is the full sky map. It's not exactly awash with islands up here. It's not like there's another whole Hyrule up here in island space. But if you zoom in, you get strings of islands like this that pose their own challenge for how to get from one to the other in the first place. Here's your Great Sky Island where the game starts, acts as the Great Plateau area did in Breath of the Wild. The opening for me was, I think for a lot of people, just a touch too slow. Like we were up on this main island for just a little bit longer than I would have liked, but only just. If it had been any longer, I would have been outright annoyed. But by the end of the tutorial session, I was thoroughly ready to get down into the main world. I've spent barely any time, 80 hours playing so far, and I've spent barely any time up here. You can see I've got the odd shrine here and there. I've explored some of the areas, but I've spent virtually no time up here either. In fact, there's labyrinths up here. I've got no idea what they're like. I haven't been there yet. But then on top of these two maps, we have an entire underground map. And again, here, I've spent hardly any time here at all. You go down here and you open up this map by finding, not shrines, but an equivalent, something that fills out your map for you. More like the towers, obviously. But they also act as warp points. And this has a whole set of its own kind of enemies. It's got its own rules. It's got its own collectibles. There is just so much. I spent 250 hours in Breath of the Wild. This is going to be 300 plus, I think, to find all the things I want to find and really get the most out of it. Map, just immense, really immense. So on the map, we can see we've got these big drawings here. These I'm really enjoying finding. They're this game's equivalent of the memories from Breath of the Wild. They give you flashbacks and tell you the story of what's happened to Zelda. Zelda falls down a big hole at the beginning and vanishes in a blink of light. Off she goes. And then these show you what's been happening to her, what happens in the past. I really enjoy what they're doing with the story. The fact that we've got the two halves. We've got the half with Zelda in the past, working against Ganondorf as he originally rose to power. Like, finding the memories in Breath of the Wild was a good feature. It was something I really enjoyed doing. But the memories in Breath of the Wild were boring. There was nothing going on in them. It was just Zelda and Link turn up in a new place. She's struggling to awaken her power. By the end of the cutscene, she still hasn't awoken her power. She's still troubling with it. You find another memory. It's exactly the same. Oh, we're in a new place, trying to unlock power. Power doesn't unlock. And that's all you get over and over and over and over again. There's like 12, 13 of the things to find, and they're all basically that. It's boring. There's not much going on. The memories in this, in Tears of the Kingdom, are far more interesting. They've actually got proper events going on. We've got some war. We've got proper exposition. We've got scenes with Ganondorf. What's going on there? It's all just really like I really want to find the memories because I'm thoroughly enjoying the story it's telling me. So we'll have a little look at what we got going on. As we can see, I have been unlocking some extra inventory slots by finding Koroks. I will eventually find all of them again. I will find all the Koroks. The revamped menu system works for me fine, and it's very similar to Breath of the Wild's menu system, which is nice. There's food, cooked food, a whole section for these Zonai devices. The building mechanic is fun, but I must say I keep finding ways to not use it, particularly with the, the lazy Koroks, the little guys you have to help. They're lying on their backpacks, struggling, can't move. They want to take them back to their mate. You take them back to their mate, who's either really close or really far away. But one way or the other, I find these guys ridiculously irritating. I just want the seeds. I keep just picking them up and carrying them to their buddy because I don't know. I don't actually really seem to enjoy the building as much as I was as the sort of plugging the building mechanic. It's not my favourite feature. From an outfit point of view, I really enjoy collecting these and upgrading them. Some of them are going to be quite easy to upgrade. Some of them are going to be ridiculously hard. I've already found a number that are returning from Breath of the Wild. That's a nice touch. that all of the existing outfits are presumably going to be in this, given the ones I've already found, like the snow trousers. They were already in here. This Hylian outfit, the knight's costume, the climbing gear, these bits and bobs here. They're all returning from Breath of the Wild, and that's nice. But then we've got extras with new abilities. We've got new extra ones. So there's a froggy suit that allows you to climb up sticky walls. A nice touch, because it rains a lot in Hyrule. Hyrule, very rainy place. We've got a gloom-resistant outfit for when you're down in the depths. We've got a mining costume, which lights up the area around you. Still haven't been able to find any more than a single piece of any of these. This Mystic set I particularly like. Twilight Princess had something similar, an armor you could get that you'd be invincible as long as you had money. As we can see in the top right corner there, I don't have a lot of money, so I haven't used this yet because I've got a feeling it will just bankrupt me and then I'll die. We've got some extra ones. I found the Tunic of the Hero is a returning one. Tunic of the Wind, the Wind Waker outfit, that I like that's in there. Suggests that there's probably going to be even more references to old Zelda games in this one. I'm looking forward to finding those. So side quests are of course back in force. They are there's some really interesting ones. Some very quick ones where you just rock up and give someone something. But Hateno Village, for instance, is a good example because we have an election happening between this lady who loves mushrooms, in her design work at least, and the existing mayor who loves farming. So she got me to hand out a bunch of mushrooms to the people that weren't going to vote for her. I had to go and find anyone in the village who wasn't a child or directly related to the existing mayor, who wasn't wearing mushroom-themed clothes like she's wearing there, and give them a mushroom. That was my task. Oh, there's Sophie. She's right by the door. She's been there the whole time, or did she just walk in? I have no idea. Nice day for an election, don't you think? Everyone's gathering in the plaza. Does that place have a plaza? Apparently it has a plaza. Let's find out where the plaza is. Here we go. And now, without further ado, let's have each of our candidates for mayor say a few words. Hi, I'm Reed. My plan is to strengthen our community with new local specialities, starting with our brand new Hateno cheese. This was one of the other things I've really enjoyed about this side quest, is that, I get an entire, there's a side quest just to produce a new food group. So we can make, I want to make pizza, but I can't find anywhere that sells wheat. But we do have cheese, so pizza is possible. Hyrulean pizza. This whole election thing's a side quest, and the cheese thing was a side quest. So side quests in side quests, and a lot of them have been like that. They're really in depth and detailed, but still bite-sized. So you don't feel like you're sucked into it for too long. I don't know. Sophie's had enough. Downtrodden assistant is rising up. I would like to be given new clothes now. Please, 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 give me new clothes. Gimme. I want that thing. I want to be dressed in that thing. And the mystery is solved. Turns out the real identity of Sia is Link. So let's talk boss dungeons. We have dungeons. Dungeons, brilliant. Lovely return to form. In this instance, this one is a giant ship just flying in the sky. It was causing some stormy weather down in Rito Village. And now that I've defeated the evil creature in it, it is no longer causing stormy, snowy weather down in Rito Village. So that's all been returned to normal. I've done 2 of the dungeons so far. I've done the Rito and I've done the Goron dungeon so far. Both have been a lot of fun. The bosses have been really cool. They've been really fun. Way more than Breath of the Wild's versions of Ganon. I wasn't really fond of those. They're not exactly traditional dungeons. It's more like what you get if you merge the Divine Beasts with old school Zelda dungeons. They are generally a lot more sort of temple like the old ones, old dungeons used to be. But obviously, because of all the climbing mechanics and things that go with these games, they've had to be tweaked a little bit. So that they've been pretty easy so far. But they've been fun, so it doesn't really it doesn't bother me that they've been easy because I've enjoyed them, and the bosses have really been quite awesome. Both of them, I think, are old school Zelda enemies that have been reimagined for this specifically. The boss for the Goron dungeon was a Goma. Anyone that's played Ocarina of Time, when you go down into the old Deku tree and the dungeon there, the first boss you fight in that game is a big one-eyed spider creature called Goma. And Goma's back as the Goron boss, but with a number of tweaks. So it was completely unique. It wasn't just a newer, shinier, bigger version of that Goma. It had been tweaked to be sort of context relevant. Flying. But it's not just the bosses that are returning enemies to the Zelda series. We've got a whole bunch in there that are old school Zelda bosses. We've got Gleeoks, the multi-headed dragons. There's those creepy ass hand things that used to just come out of the wall and grab you and dump you at the opening to a dungeon. Now they're far more terrifying, and I haven't actually been able to kill them yet. They're too hard. We've got likes that have returned. They still swallow you whole and steal your stuff. They're a lot harder to kill because you have to wait for them to spit out their stomach so that you can kill them. Okay, so I want to talk about a few of my hopes for the remainder of the game, because we could waffle on and on and on about new things and side quests and that guy that needs you to fix his sign repeatedly over and over again. But we'll be here forever. So going forward into the sort of next 80 to 100 hours, I've done 2 of the main objectives that have both involved a dungeon setup with a boss that has freed up one of the tiers of the kingdom and released a sage, sort of a sage's inner power, who has then bestowed that power upon you. The same way that the champions did in Breath of the Wild. Only there are only 4 objectives on the map. But there are more tiers than that. So after those initial 4 dungeons where you have resolved the sort of environmental cataclysm that's going on because of the evil in these dungeons, I don't know where the game's going after that. I'm hoping that another dungeon or 2 will become apparent, maybe in the depths, or just kind of rise up out of the ground, appear somewhere, so there'll be another couple of dungeons to do. In a similar vein to the way that Ocarina of Time gave you 3 dungeons, and then you become adult Link, and suddenly you've got like 5-6 more dungeons to deal with. I'm hoping they're going to do something similar here. Obviously, at some point, I assume we'll be getting the Master Sword back. whether this will be like in Wind Waker, where you get the Master Sword and then you have to do a couple of quests to imbue it with power, or whether it will be returned, or whether Zelda's going to deal with that in a flashback and pass you back a fully charged and powerful sword. I don't know. I'm hoping that I'll have to go do another like temple or dungeon or something to re-imbue it with its power. As far as the end game is concerned, but my biggest hope, I want this game to do something that no other Zelda game I'm aware of has done, which is give us a post-game. Post-game stuff is very common now in games. You know, Mario Odyssey had a great one, like you defeat Bowser and most of the game opened up. Most Pokemon games have a post-game where there's a bunch of side quests where you go get some legendary Pokemon or extra rare ones, and you get a whole new plethora of challengers to fight who are all much, much harder than the rest. The best example is Dragon Quest XI, where it took me 80, 90 hours to do the main game, along with a bunch of side quests and everything. And then I defeated the big bad evil to discover that defeating that big bad evil meant another big bad evil rose to power. There was this whole extra story going on. But that game's post-game was 30 hours long. There was loads to do, just so much. Like, you thought you'd fix the world, and then you had to go fix it again, essentially. There's a whole time travel aspect to it. It really opened up. It was lengthy and detailed. It was very cool. But it just, Zelda games have always traditionally, you get to the point where you can go face Ganon, usually Ganon, the big bad evil of the game, and it will save it before you go there, and then you go defeat the Ganon, the evil, and the game will reset to the point before you defeated the evil. You can never play the game after you've defeated the evil, and this is my one hope. They've made a lot of changes to Zelda with Breath of the Wild and with Tears of the Kingdom in its general format. You know, the weapons, the dungeon changing, the fact that you can climb everything, the open, fast open world. This is one thing I deeply hope they change. I want to defeat Ganondorf, and then I still want to be able to run around the world and explore everything and do this stuff, and maybe have a whole bunch more side quests to do. Maybe have some more restoration work to do around Hyrule, so that it gets, so you really feel by the end of this game that you have saved Hyrule properly saved Hyrule, and you're actually helping to restore it to some of its former glory. Some of this has happened in between games, but not a great deal. And obviously haven't been playing the game, so you haven't had a hand in it. That's my number one thing I want, is there to be a post-game to this. So we will find out. Could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. We'll find out once I get there if that hope has been realised, or if I am deeply, deeply disappointed. But I think that will do for enough waffling here for now. So what are some of your favourite things from Tears of the Kingdom? What are your hopes and your dreams for the rest of the game? Have you played it as long as I have? Have you played it more? Let me know down in the comments. This is Mark from Console Choice. I'll have more for you soon.